This is Biker Dad, brought to you by Biker Justice USA and the National Academy of Motorcycle Injury Lawyers.
Have you ever sat at your job and thought, what if I just got up and left? Tell that horrible boss to take this job and shove it. Have you ever wanted to just walk out? What about burnout? Well, that's exactly what I did, but I didn't just quit. I left my 25-year corporate career to ride motorcycles and tell your story.
Daytona Beach, Florida, where you can actually drive onto the beach. Rick Fairless, a legend of his own, introduced me to Richard Rollins, Mayfield, Kentucky, Southeast Missouri, beautiful city of Knoxville, Tennessee, Gulf Coast of Mississippi, the Florida coast and the Tampa Bay area, Orange County Choppers, Roadhouse and Museum, talking to Paul Tuttle Sr. himself.
But make no mistake, this is not a show about motorcycles or even about me. Instead, I travel across the country to meet the people who use their passion for motorcycles to make their communities stronger, safer, and better. This is Biker Dad.
Hi, my name is Chris Best, and I left my 25-year corporate career to ride motorcycles and tell stories. And this time, that adventure brings me here, to Area 51. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. No, it's not that Area 51. We're actually about 2,000 miles from the notorious spot where the Foo Fighters are battling aliens, allegedly, although our government has owned up to a little bit of that. We're in the small town of Dothan, Alabama, visiting with this local motorcycle shop, Area 51, that's making big waves across the country, and a lot of it is inspired by muscle cars. That's where we start this episode of the Biker Dad TV show, so let's roll.
I'm Josh, owner of Area 51 Customs in Dothan, Alabama. Started out, shop behind the house in 2007. I had a paint background, built car builder, restoration work. Got involved in painting a lot of trikes, Goldwing trikes. We started doing some work for Motor Trike and California Sidecar. Kind of grew word of mouth and painting bikes, and turns into these guys come in and, well, you painting my bike, can you put this handlebar on it? And, yeah, we can do that. So I started acquiring guys. Workload got heavier, more bikes coming into the shop. Started kind of like right in the beginning of the bagger scene, to where baggers were really popular. Got well known for building big wheel baggers. It's been a run of years, but built a lot of motorcycles. Very fortunate to work in a situation where I work with a lot of just about all my best friends. So this building we're in, this wasn't my first motorcycle shop. I started behind the house. In 15, I moved down to downtown Dothan. We landed a 120-year-old, the first Ford dealership in our town. Kind of took a year to build that shop into a motorcycle shop, and then made the transition of moving into that shop and opened it up. By the second week we were there, I think we had like 65 bikes in the shop, a lot of motor jobs, a lot of handlebar jobs, and it kind of built from there. We were the first shop that was a paint shop, and was just a small service shop that had a paint shop in it, so that kind of gave us a one-stop shop atmosphere. Allowed guys to come in and build motorcycles, get their motors worked on, get their audio done. We decided that we kind of outgrew the shop. I want to say that was it was about 5 years ago, so I was about 19. We were going to build a new shop out 231 South outside of town, get out a little bit, and kind of in the mix between, like, you had a lot of traffic going to Thunder Beach, Daytona, and Leesburg. And so there's a lot of traffic passing through our town to get there, which has given us a lot of success as well. Then this place come available. So this building we're in used to be a place called CCC Classics. It stood for Corvettes, Camaros, and Chevelles. And it was a restoration shop, and the largest one in Alabama. This was my last job working for the man here. I was the body shop manager and painter. We built this thing from nothing. Right now we're very fortunate. We have 2 master Harley techs. We have custom bike builders, MMI graduate. The latest technology and the stuff we build, we're just getting into a bunch of 3D printing, designing parts on AutoCAD, and going in and having parts 3D printed so we can come in and build plugs and stuff for fiberglass. You know, to give the shop the edge, because a lot of shops have their parts that they build that give them a edge in doing it. And plus, when you build it in-house, you can control the quality a lot better, you can control the speed, of how fast, you know, when you need these parts and stuff like that. I grew up with a family of mechanics. Nobody was in paint and body. I was actually going to sign up for trade school in 9th grade, and this kid standing outside waiting for the guidance counselor, you know, hits me up and tells me that, you know, asked me what class that I was going to take at the vocational school. And I told him I was going to be a mechanic. And he told me, he said, man, they do brakes the first year you're there. So, and I was like, man, I already know how to do a brake job. You know, I don't want to do brakes. And he goes, but man, I heard if you were in the auto body class, man, they'd let you paint your car. And so at the time, I was about to be 16 years old. I decided to, well, I'm going to gamble and take the auto body class and see if they'll let me paint my truck. And so it just turned in that I got in that class, and I stayed in that class all through high school, all my high school year. I took every elective I could in auto body. I was just hooked at it, and I just enjoyed painting. So I found some success with it and got a job at a body shop. The paint and body is what kind of got me into the classic car world, that kind of led me into the motorcycles. You could build a lot more motorcycles than you could build classic cars. Once we got it big into painting motorcycles and started doing some Harley Davidsons for dealerships, I think the first one I painted for Harley of Dothan here, I went over and begged them, was like, hey man, let me paint a motorcycle, let me paint a motorcycle. And they were like, no, well, we're really not wanting to paint any motorcycles right now. You know, they didn't want to really get in it. They were ordering like custom painted sets from Harley. And then a couple weeks later, they come up with this denim black Road Glide that was just looked like it had been left outside. So they called me over. I was like, hey, paint this bike. They didn't even know what they were going to get. So we took the bike back, took all the parts back, went and painted it and put it back together and unveiled it at a bike night. And man, it was just crazy at that point. I wanted to be in the position to where I would have the opportunity to build a custom motorcycle. But man, I tell you what, when I left that paint and body, I closed that paint and body shop, and I was like, man, you know, I'm successful in this, that's great. And I was gonna close that shop down, slow it way down, and then I was just gonna custom paint motorcycles. And I had got in a good spot as far as financially wise goes. I opened Area 51 Customs. Man, the first couple of years, it was horrible, man. I almost star slammed to death. It was actually so bad, my family came to me and was like, basically had an intervention. They were like, man, you need to get a job. You know, you need to find some work. This isn't steady enough. You know, you're struggling to pay bills. And I just was like, man, you know, I feel like I'm almost there. Hell, I still feel that way today, like I'm almost there. I stuck with it. And Dothan Power Sports here in town, they gave me a shot, and I was painting their wreck bikes, and you know, I'd sit in there and I'd talk to the general manager there, who was a great guy. I'd sit there and talk to him for hours on end. Man, just let's take this new bike on the floor. Let me do it. And so you finally get to a point where you're like, hey, I tell you what, if you'll let me paint that bike, you don't have to pay me until it sells. Top deal. So you have to make them push yourself to get out there and find that deal, you know, and gamble, because that's all the business is these days, is a gamble. So I would be what would consider, like, I don't know, a couple of years ago, as a conspiracy theorist kind of guy. When I started Area 51, I didn't really have a name for it. It had nothing to do with aliens. I had this old guy, old Marine, that would come to the shop, this craziest guy ever. But he would bring his own towels to sit his saddlebags on. And when you worked on his bike, he wanted to sit there with you while you worked on it. Didn't matter what you were doing. And if it was going to be overnight, the next day you could expect him to show up, and he would show up. And just a super great guy. But first time he ever came to my shop, he comes off, and the driveway was not like a paved driveway. It was just like a little trail that went back to a shop, and it was an eighth of a mile off the road. You couldn't see it. You had to go through this big gate to get there. And so he comes in, and he's instantly just bitching about the driveway, about like, oh man, I almost wrecked my bike a couple times coming down the driveway, and that driveway was a doozy. And so he gets off, and he's like, man, you dragged me out here in the middle of nowhere. I feel like I'm at damn Area 51. And I was like, that's pretty cool, Area 51. So I started playing with the Area 51 Customs, and then I got on the internet, and you could buy all these like novelty signs that we got hanging up that say Area 51. I was like, hey, look at that, man. That'd be easy to buy all these signs, and you got your logo. You don't have to go out, you know, you go out and like get things made. He just sticks with me. And so since I was so far out there, I was like, Area 51 Customs.
Biker Dad is brought to you in part by the National Academy of Motorcycle Injury Lawyers. Why do I trust NAML? Because they work relentlessly to make our roads safer for everyone. They bring awareness to the motorcycle community all across the USA. They fight for justice for bikers too. If you're an attorney who's interested in joining the fight and the cause, go to NAML.org for more information. With All Octane Camping in 2023 and 2024 is going to be even bigger. Myself and even Biker Mom got to experience the glamping, luxurious camping with the big old bed and a nice comfy tent, whether it's really hot or even a little chilly. And the best part is they set it all up for you and you don't have to worry about a thing. Book your camping trip for 2024 by going to alloctanecamping.com and tell them Biker Dad sent you. Thousands of innocent bikers are injured and even killed on our streets and highways in the United States every year. And far too often, we don't get the justice we deserve, even if we did absolutely nothing wrong. So how do you find the help you need? People who are ready to go to the mat and get justice for you? Just go to bikerjusticeusa.com to find a list of lawyers across the United States who are trusted by me, Biker Dad. Hi there, this is Chris Best, the Biker Dad. I'm just here to let you know that myself and the hundreds of thousands of people who follow us on social media and watch the TV show are here to help. Do you need help with something? Give me a call. That's my number right there, 251-402-6392. Especially if you need legal help, I have an army of lawyers across the country who can help you with injuries after motorcycle crashes especially, but other stuff like crime and everything else too. So give me a call, 251-402-6392. Now, this week's Biker Dad Tech Tip. Biker Dad Tech Tip.
We're at Mobile Bay Harley Davidson for this week's tech tip in action. We're going to be doing several tech tips over the next probably 2 months on this bike, which is something I just picked up the other day. It is a 2005 Harley Davidson Softail Standard. The woman who sold this to me lied about the mileage. She said it has 1,600 miles on it, only, but it has 1,900. Oh my God!
Well, I mean, take it back.
Yeah. So do the math. It's an 18-year-old bike, has 1,900 miles on it. It's driven a little bit over 100 miles a year on average.
Yeah.
I've put about 70 miles on it since yesterday, so I've already got almost a year's worth of miles on the bike. Sounds awesome. Hey, you found this barn find. It's really low, but there are some landmines in an old bike that's been sitting around, right? Neil with Mobile Bay Harley Davidson's here to tell us about that.
Exactly. Used bikes. We have a huge selection of used bikes, and we've got to comb through the good ones to the best ones out there.
Yeah.
Looking at the tires, are you ready? Still round, and they're still rubber, and they're not dry rotted and cracked, but Department of Transportation mandates a date code, and these were made in the 44th week of 2004.
Oh, I was a month off.
These tires are original to the bike. There's probably some collector out there that'll say, "Hey, save them. I want everything original." Next thing, I'll squeeze the brake, bounce it a little bit. Some bikes that have the fork covers, you're not gonna be able to see it too much, but give it a feel. Make sure there's no leaking seals. Guys, they'll make it look pretty when you're pulling up. Like, oh wow, but you're down the street and your pants are covered.
Yeah, I have one of those bikes.
Exactly. I'm gonna fire it up. Sounds great. And here's what I'm noticing now. No turn signals.
Yeah.
That's probably good to get a key light. And there, we'll check high beams. Good to go there. Horn. A much older bike, I'll put my hands on it if it's cool, and I'll this long I can almost feel the vibration or clicking. You can almost feel the noise if there is any. This one, like tight as a drum. You sorry for the turn signals that weren't working earlier?
Yep.
Someone has managed to relocate them. I believe on the Softail Standard they were hanging up off of the handlebar. This was a relocation when someone added a windshield. No, not even to entry-level standards.
Not even to Chris Best, terriblest mechanic in the world standards.
Oh, geez, the tank's empty. And they'll go add oil, take off riding, and it goes right back up. And that's a bad time.
Cool. Anything else? Overall, what do you think about the bike? What do you think about?
Well, I'm seeing just your average accessories, some of the items that a person would put on before they left the dealership. Some pegs, just things to dress up. They probably got rolled into their financing.
I got some chrome grips.
Now, I'm not sure if that part number is for the seat or if it's for the tab. Usually there'll be some stuff mounted around here. But I mean, God, that's great condition.
Yeah, it is very comfortable.
Carbureted bike, so it's ignition control module.
I reset the battery to see if it cleared the engine code, and I didn't.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't think I got them back on there right. So maybe
All
we
right.
can sort that out real quick.
Not a problem. So all you connected. I mean, everything looks like nothing's hacked to pieces. I mean, this bike wasn't really out there long enough to.
It is a new battery, or newish, because that's not a Harley battery, and it says 523 on there. So
When a bike does come in, a used bike, we spend about, on average, about $1,600.
oh wow.
Putting new tires, new batteries, oil changes, making sure that everything's good to go. Now, we want to make it roadworthy and safe. Give the end user the opportunity to make it the way he wants. And you've been around bikes long enough to know what you're looking at, and you knew it was a good investment. Proud of you. Proud of you, and a little jealous.
So now the question is, if I just get 100% roadworthy and pass it on to somebody else who loves the bike just the way it is.
This is it's classic. The blonde engine with the black, it's a basic Harley.
It's definitely a great bike, and I think I got a good deal too. So we'll be doing a few more videos on this bike as we go along. Neil gave us a great overview, and now we're going to get some specifics in the next few videos in the weeks to come. Our Back on Two stories are brought to you by Biker Justice USA and the National Academy of Motorcycle Injury Lawyers.
I'm Mike Dinkle with Redbeard Cycles, Pensacola, Florida. Bike here belongs to this young gentleman here. It's a 1987 Heritage. He's owned it since brand new.
So I was a rescue swimmer in the Coast Guard, 17 years.
Through his military service, he was disabled and unable to ride the motorcycle. Myself and Frank Garrett found out about this at the last A Hero event and decided to do something about it. And right now we're in the process of converting his bike into something more functional for him that he'll be able to enjoy for years to come.
Rode it for quite a few years till '97. I lost my limbs from a bacterial infection from the water. Turned me septic, got gangrene in my limbs. That's how I lost my limbs.
Last August at the A Hero event, the A Hero Warrior Hookup Ride, Frank Garrett actually met Dave, helping him put his wheelchair in the back of his truck. They got to talk and found out that Dave had a bike. Frank approached me about it and said, hey, we need to do something about this. So I think that next weekend, we went out and met up with Dave and looked at his bike. We got out there, it was sitting on a bike lift in his garage, tucked off in a corner, full of dust. First order of business was make sure it ran. That took us all of about a couple of hours. Fresh battery, fresh fuel, make sure the plugs were clean, and it fired right up.
How's that feel?
So that right there told us that the bike wanted to come back to life. The whole point in this is to get Dave back on his bike, to get him back in the wind so he's enjoying something that he loves. We know he loves it, or he'd have got rid of this a long time ago. Redneck ingenuity and a lot of prayers. No, seriously, we've got a plan. Right now, the trike kit was the first step. We had to get it stable so he could get on and off the bike without any problems. Picking a bike up and putting it back down on the side stand is kind of hard. So we had to make sure it had a stable platform. We're at that point right now. So now we got to keep moving forward. Next step is working on the controls, making them compatible for what he can do on the bike. One of which, the brake system is going to be ran more of an ABS style braking system, to where he can either use the foot or the handbrake, and it actuates both the brakes to help slow the bike down. On the shifting portion, he's no longer going to have a clutch cable. We're doing a suicide shift, and we're going to put an EMF auto clutch in it. That clutch system is it's a lot like the Recluse. He bumps it into gear. As long as it stays under 1500 RPM, the bike stays stationary. As soon as he gives it throttle, it takes off, and then he can just shift through the gears just by bumping the shifter. As far as the throttle system, We're gonna rig up a paddle style system that he's gonna squeeze with his thigh. That way he can just squeeze with his thigh to increase the throttle and let go to decrease the throttle. I know there's been a lot of modifications to motorcycles for amputees. You know, we've talked to a lot of people, seen a lot of things. I don't personally know of one that was built for somebody in Dave's predicament. That's not to say it can't be done. We're gonna make it happen one way or the other. Dave's gonna ride this bike. I don't care if he gets on it and rides it to the end of his block every day, turns around, takes it home and puts it in his driveway. As long as he's able to get on his bike and go, we've completed what we set out to do, and that was to put a veteran back on his motorcycle. Bikers and their bikes, they coexist, you know. Bike can't survive without its rider, and a rider damn sure can't survive without his bike.
One leg, that's easy. You can do it. Definitely inspired me to get on and you know, see what I can do with it, and you know, even if I just drive it in parades, you know, it'll be good enough for me. You know.
Where's the first place you're gonna ride it to?
Probably a big parking lot.
Neil Cater, Mobile Bay Harley Davidson. I grew up in and around motorcycle industry. Dad was a huge part of it. He worked with Freddie Spencer, he worked with Yoshimura. So anybody's on my old Facebook has seen me brag and name drop a lot. But I decided to go a different route. My mom always told me that Dad was happiest when he was wrenching, not doing the whole sales and administrative kind of thing. She said he was happiest, he came home with dirty hands, and he was just a different guy. They say a wise man learns from others' mistakes, so I decided I would make this my career, and I haven't looked back since. I mean, I get to do this kind of stuff. It's great. Eiji Yoshimura is the son of Pops Yoshimura. Everybody knows Yoshimura Racing. And see, Freddie Spencer was a road racer in the early 80s. He said, I don't know my dad's affiliation there, but I found some business cards and I'm really, really curious. If anybody has any information, please let me know. Raced with Kenny Roberts and all those guys, but I began a crazy career. Had a racing school out in California, but I said back in the day before social media, I guess the motorcycle community was a little bit tight-knit. Shake hands, belly bump, high five, rather than just send a Facebook or Instagram message. Kind of a neat world. I would have loved to have been part of that kind of stuff. My dad's birthday was Monday, and I came across a lot of information, a lot of business cards, T-shirts, and so I remember those two names and those two items were the things that he, those were always had a safe spot in his garage. Autographs from Jerry McGrath, Ricky Carmichael, all kinds of things growing up, and those are important to me. But he had his crew. Like I said, if anybody, I'm learning more and more every day. Some of the stuff my mom gave me, and I dug, and rediscovering some things about my dad. But yeah, later on he worked for Kawasaki, he worked for Parts Unlimited and Garage Specialties. Got a little closer to the customer end of things. I think he liked seeing people's happy faces rather than just numbers move across the screen and products and bikes. He liked being there with the end user. I've had so much fun with it. And I get to build a bike and hand it off to the customer and have him call me up the next day. This thing's awesome, this thing's great. And it swells my heart up, man. I got more miles backing up to the curb than most guys have going the other direction. But yeah, I guess I learned a lot. Some of these older guys come around, they'll say some things, they'll mention some things. I'm like, that sounds familiar. So, stuff I picked up over the years. Hey, if you're watching from up there, Dad, thanks. Love you. Thanks for giving me the gift of wrenching.